Hi guys! If you watched some of my videos, you heard me talking about having some breakfast if you deal with overeating or even binging. The intermittent fasting movement has been in trend for years right now, and indeed it has some health benefits, but in my personal opinion, the costs of it outweigh the benefits. Some of my elderly clients are successful by having an eating window of 10 hours or less. However, just because it works for a small percentage of people doesn't mean it works for you. And I don't say it is terrible for every person out there. No, some rare people never had breakfast in their lives even without restricting. Plus, keep in mind that when you sleep 8 hours, you already fast naturally between dinner and breakfast for a very long time. If you go overboard with skipping breakfast and deal with binging, cramming, cravings, etc., you might need to make a change. I assumed for many years that I'm not a breakfast type of person. Sure, what else could I think when I had been chronically adapting every possible diet rule the weight loss movement had to offer since I was 12 years old? I was doing the diet within the diet. My natural sense of hunger was so messed up that I didn't know what true hunger felt like, let alone how to satisfy it. I was overwhelmed beyond measure. I did not trust my hunger drive anymore because I only knew starving or being stuffed. Something in between I felt rarely. Most people who follow some form of intermittent fasting typically skip breakfast because it is easier than skipping dinner. Sure, you did not burn many calories in the first couple of hours of the day because you rested during the night. Therefore, you're not that hungry then later in the day. However, just because you aren't that hungry in the morning doesn't mean you're not hungry at all. In fact, many people have some small hunger, and because it is only a small whisper, they neglect it day by day. I see and experience that by myself, that when I don't have breakfast, the chances increase to overeat later in the day. It doesn't always end up in binging, but just in consuming more in general. Keep in mind that you fasted the entire night while you slept, therefore it is unnecessary to fast for more hours on top during the day. It is unnecessary to delay the fasting window as much as possible to get some health benefits. I naturally fast for 12 hours without even noticing it. The fasting window most people do is 18 hours who follow intermittent fasting. They break the window usually around 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. But sometimes it is enough to shorten this window only by 2 hours, which makes a massive difference for your success. For example, having the first meal of the day by 9 a.m. This is only 2 hours earlier than you typically have your first meal when you fast. But I found that when I eat something, when I only experience a slight hunger, I need less food to feel full and satisfied. I'm less stuffed and bloated afterward, and at my next meal I don't feel ravenously hungry. Some of my clients said they love to feel extremely hungry because then the simple foods taste better. That's true, I agree. However, those clients experienced overeating at dinner or some stomach pain because they ate all the calories they needed in just 2 meals. Of course, you can have 3 meals when you eat between 12 and 6 p.m., but this window might be too tight for many. They are not hungry enough. As a result, some experience hunger drive before they go to bed, which is not good and nothing I would recommend going hungry to bed. This situation triggers them to have food before bedtime, which is understandable. Sure, you eat when you're hungry. However, it disturbs their sleep when they have a large meal before bedtime. Some people say they cannot have oatmeal for breakfast because it tastes like cake for them. I agree to some degree, but I found out that when I eat it for breakfast after I had some steamed veggies before and when I'm having it when I'm not super hungry, I don't need a lot of food to satisfy my first small hunger of the day. However, when I would have the oatmeal for lunch or wait until I'm ravenously hungry, I would need much more in order to feel full. Oatmeal is, after potatoes, one of the most satisfying meals you can eat. By having it for breakfast, I don't deprive myself of this healthy cake, and that keeps me motivated to some degree that I can have foods that are easy to overeat, but eating them in a specific order, it keeps me full. Of course, you can have sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, or whatever you want for breakfast. This was just an example. The next thing I'm going to talk about is how you can transition from not having breakfast to having breakfast. For example, if you had your first meal of the day at 12 p.m., try to have it now at 10 a.m. Or if you had your first meal at 11 a.m., you have your first meal of the day now at 9 a.m. This is a shift by only 2 hours and therefore doable. You can shift the time by 30 minutes day by day until you reach a time that works best for you. You don't need to eat right away when you wake up. The rule is there is no rule when you should have your first meal of the day. The best guide is your hunger drive. But because some people don't listen to it properly, some need a little bit of experimentation until it becomes a routine in their lives. So the recommendation I made is something where you have a starting point. Keep in mind that when you are used to having a large meal at dinner or the majority of your calories at the second half of the day, you will not feel a big hunger in the morning at the beginning of your transitioning phase. People can condition themselves to follow this eating pattern. However, the slightest thought on food in the morning is a good indicator you should have something to eat. This small whisper that many deny or shut down by a cup of coffee is there for a reason. You fasted during the night. Your body starts to need energy. Maybe not that much than throughout the day, but a little bit doesn't mean nothing. The next question you might have is how much you should eat. My answer is to start somewhere and build it up if you still think about food after breakfast. I have a video on how much you should eat. I link down below. For example, start with half a pound of steamed veggies first, followed by half cup of rolled oats cooked in 1 cup of water. Then top it with 1 or 2 pieces of a medium-sized fruit. Congratulations, you had your first breakfast. Wasn't that difficult, right? Next time, if you still feel hungry, use 2/3 cups of dried oats cooked in the double amount of water. And if this still isn't enough, you go for 1 cup of oats. Your age, gender, height, weight and activity level play a role in how much you need in order to feel full. For example, a male typically requires more than a woman. That was just an example of how you slowly work your way up to the right portion. You don't need to have veggies for breakfast. Depending on your needs and goals, you can leave them out. However, this is something I copied from Chef AJ years ago because it keeps me more full, and starting the day with veggies helps me A, with cravings, and B, you already had your portion of veggies for the day, and that sets the day up in the proper manner, and C, you feel more satisfied with your meal. So have the veggies before you eat the starchy meal. You see, not that complicated, right? For all oatmeal haters or people who want an alternative or savory breakfast, use the same principle with another starch source, such as sweet potatoes or potatoes. On the side, you can add some baked or steamed veggies. Start with a medium potato and increase it if you're still thinking about food after you have eaten it. This is a helpful indicator that you're still a little hungry. After all, being hungry doesn't mean eating when you're about to collapse, but rather when you feel the first signs of thinking about food. I'm not talking about cookies, but about whole, natural, unprocessed plant foods. I have a video on your hunger drive, which I linked in the show notes. If the vegetables seem appealing to you, that's a good sign that you're hungry. However, this is not always the best indicator because some nutcases restrict their starch intake immensely. They can eat immense amounts of veggies and then deal with stomach issues and indigestion. Furthermore, some people don't have thick genes and therefore can have some starch with less or no veggies when feeling hungry. Therefore, this is not necessary to have veggies for breakfast, but an excellent tool to know about. Don't compare your portions to mine or others. This is an individual thing. I know that it is still in people's mind that a woman has to eat small portions in order to be feminine. In fact, I never met a person in real life that eats more than me, but I met many people of all genders and ages that eat less than me, but way more than me. So I guess this isn't the worst deal you can make, I would say. I'm neither proud of it nor ashamed by it. It's just how it is, and I don't overthink it. I eat and don't think about how much I already have. This was a process after recovering from binge eating, and the more I listened to my hunger drive, the more successful I became and more balanced. Give yourself time to trust the process again. If you restrict or diet for years or even decades, it is wise to give yourself at least a few weeks or even months. In general, the majority of people I talk to overthink their hunger and their fullness cues. This is something that happens naturally when you eat the right foods. They often think they overeat when in fact they just ate the to full satiety. They are not yet used to feeling full, or they don't accept their genetic weight and therefore press themselves in all kinds of rules in order to keep a certain weight. Dr. Goldhammer once said that he overeats at every meal. I had a similar experience. Only when I don't think about food anymore after eating, I know that I'm full. And sometimes my stomach is very expanded. Others would assume they overeat, but this is a misinformation on how whole natural foods work in your stomach. This is expected because of the high fiber content that the stomach expands. It's just that super high conscientious women don't like it when their stomach gets larger for some time during the day. An expanded stomach signaled a pregnancy for our ancestors. Therefore, this woman was no longer available for the partner market. That's why women react very sensitive to the size of their waistline. Keep in mind that a whole food plant-based diet is lower in calorie density, and therefore you have to eat larger quantities. That's the price you pay for effortless leanness in the modern world. I think it is a great deal to eat as much as you want without getting fat. And even if you don't need breakfast every day, it is calming and helpful to know that you can have it any time you want it. One of the benefits of having more regular meals throughout the day is feeling less bloated and having a better sleep because you don't stuff yourself with a big dinner. Eating a healthy diet is not only about weight loss and health, but also about feeling good and feeling calm and relaxed. When I stuff myself with a bunch of healthy foods 1 or 2 hours before I go to bed, I don't feel very relaxed the next day. Of course, you should have something to eat when you feel hungry before bed, but often one banana does the job, or another small snack when you make sure to eat enough food throughout the day and not only at dinner. Another fear some people have in their minds is that they think they will eat more food in general throughout the day when they eat breakfast. This is not true. In fact, many make quite the opposite experience in the long run. Your body detects how much energy you give it. It doesn't matter at what time of the day. However, when you don't eat as soon as you feel slightly hungry, your famine defense mechanism switches on, and as soon as you eat, your nervous system will force you to overeat on that meal or even binge. In the end, with this approach, you'll end up having more calories than needed. Your body saves those calories for the next famine. But in the modern world, we don't live in famine anymore, and we have plenty of access to food. It is impossible to control this restricting cycle by willpower. It is impossible to trick your biology. I guess if you made it until here, it is time to make a change in your eating behavior. Trust your hunger drive. You can break your car, but not your hunger drive. So don't limit it to a specific time window or press it into something it doesn't want to be. It is as if you are only allowed to be at a specific time window. Your hunger drive is dynamic, and the better you treat it with respect, honor it, and listen to it, the better results you get in your overall well-being, your health, your life quality, and yes, even in weight loss if this is a goal of yours. I hope this video takes away the fear of having breakfast or regular meals throughout the day. So see you in my next video. Bye bye.